Okay, so this is an interesting article from the Mirror, and I thought I would go ahead and point out what happened here because it's interesting. I've been seeing some news reports here in the U.S., and I know of a Facebook post I saw of somebody in Australia who noticed a similar thing. I noticed a news clip here in the U.S. the other day where it was saying that, that Boris has, complete, he has his mandate and the entire UK supports him. And they said something along the lines of he spent some time campaigning north of the border, basically in Scotland, and is what they were saying, and that it paid off, and that is absolutely untrue. You know, Boris's Conservatives lost half their seats in Scotland in this most recent election. The SNP jumped up from something like 36 seats to now holding 48 out of 59 seats total in Scotland. So when I see this clearly untruthful reporting, I look for a reason why, and this article kind of suggests to me why that could be. So what it is the news organizations walk out as number 10 seek to pick and choose who gets briefings. So, basically Boris Johnson is trying to pick and choose which outlets get the news because he prefers the way certain ones spin it in his favor, and the ones that don't, he doesn't want to play ball with, is basically the way it looks like it shakes out. Journalists from every major national broadcaster and newspaper walked out of number 10 today after the government tried to pick and choose which media outlets it briefed. Broadcasters including political editors Laura Kuenssberg from the BBC, Robert Peston from ITV, and Beth Rigby from Sky News were among those who left in protest. Around a dozen journalists from organizations including the Financial Times, The Sun, and The Telegraph had received an official invitation from Downing Street to attend the briefing with David Frost, Boris Johnson's Europe advisor, on the PM's post-Brexit trade plans. But political editors from the publications who have previously been invited to non-political briefings given by senior civil servants on government premises also turned up. They were granted entry into number 10, but a security official then read out a list of names for those who were allowed entry to the briefing, with those from the left of center outlets forced to stand on the opposite side of the entrance hall. Those banned from the briefing, in a move reminiscent of Donald Trump's administration, which has tried to exclude journalists from critical organizations, included the Daily Mirror, the Eye, Huffington Post, and the Independent. Mr. Johnson's head of communications, Lee Cain, arrived and told reporters, those who are invited to the briefing can stay. Everyone else, I'm afraid, will have to leave. After journalists pointed out that briefings with civil servants as non-political representatives of government had always been open to the full spectrum of media outlets, he replied, "We're welcome to brief whoever we like." The journalists then walked out of number 10 in the latest escalation of Mr. Johnson's tension with the media. Shadow Culture Secretary Tracy Brabin, MP, said, "Press freedom is a cornerstone of our democracy, and journalists must be able to hold the government to account." It is concerning that Boris Johnson seems to be resorting to tactics imported from Donald Trump to hide from scrutiny. The future trade agreement with the European Union is an issue of great public importance and interest. Those gaining access to such important information should not be cherry-picked by number 10. Labour MP David Lammy said it was deeply sinister and was straight out of Donald Trump's playbook, adding, "Our democracy depends on a robust and independent media being free to hold the government to account." Pro-Brexit journalist Julia Hartley-Brewer, who spoke at the Leave Means Leave rally in Parliament Square on Friday night, said, "It is totally unacceptable for number 10 to try to pick and choose which journalists can attend lobby briefings. All credit to the integrity and professionalism of those journalists who refused to accept the briefing when others were excluded. This stuff matters in a democracy." Angela Rayner, favorite to win the Labor deputy leadership contest, tweeted, "This is very poor stuff. Behaving like Trump's press and media cronies. Utter disgrace. No wonder so many news organizations walked out. Quite right, too." A number 10 insider said they had arranged a small briefing for selected journalists, adding uninvited journalists barged in and demanded to be a part of it. It was made clear only those invited could stay. They chose to leave. However, one lobby source pointed out it was impossible to barge into number 10, which is protected by several layers of security, including iron gates and armed police. The incident follows one last week where a similar technical briefing was arranged on the decision to grant Chinese firm Huawei access to the UK's 5G infrastructure network, but several major media organizations were not invited. This was despite the briefing being delivered by senior intelligence figures, Foreign Office, and DCMS civil servants, and on government premises, all funded by the taxpayers. Mr. Johnson has also banned ministers from taking part in BBC Radio 4's Today program and ITV's Good Morning Britain. Still hiding in the fridge, I see.